Hi. Oh shit, God, that's bright. How are all y'all doing? I was lost in some curry and lost track of time. I tried out a new recipe today, and it has been quite a day. What a day it has been. Imp, welcome in. YN Dope Mike, welcome in. Good to see you. Water J, thanks for tuning in from YouTube. Keith, the Gamer Geek, welcome in. Tikka masala for dinner with naan. Goddamn, I just ate. Why would you say that to me? Now I want tikka masala with naan bread. David North, welcome back. Twitter RA, welcome back. Death Angel, welcome back. Blaze, so good to see you, buddy. Lumix, welcome in. As Draghi, hello. I'm sorry I butchered that name. It's so good to see you. Greg Rage, welcome in. Phoenix, welcome in. And DM Chris, welcome in. Early crew coming in force. There's a little bit of extra time to join the forces of the early crew this evening. Cause man, oh man, it's been a day. I am on no sleep. We are working on getting our backer kit campaign ready for tomorrow. Because it's tomorrow, Castle Get Zagig starts tomorrow. We're going to start our crowdfunding campaign for Castle Zagig tomorrow. If you want to check it out, there it is. If you haven't signed up for updates and you go ahead and do that now or at any point before the launch, you will receive a free, count 'em free, $0, 10-page PDF for the Outs Inn, which is an inn and tavern in Yeagsburg where a bunch of adventures begin, and that'll be distributed 48 hours, up to 48 hours after the campaign's launch. I dropped my phone on my face, so my lip is bruised, and we're having a time. We're here, and we're alive. We don't have any sleep. But hey, we don't need sleep in the troll dens. All we need is good curry, good vibes, and a Dr. Pepper for Steve. Hopefully I can buy some Gucci and Prada. Or, and hear me out, Castle Zagig is just as fashionable. Saving up for it. Yes. Dude, I'm excited. Sleep is for the dead. Exactly. That's what I've been saying. We're a little extra delirious. We're a little extra spicy. And isn't that just the way to be? That's called being alive. I'm going to turn my tomato lamp back on. Wait, hang on. I love this art, but I'm going to make it go away. So we can have full tomato lamp vibes. I love this lamp a lot, and I broke it on stream last week, so I didn't want to ask, but since you fessed up, yeah, can't hold your phone over your face when looking at it. Yeah, it was literally that stupid thing of like laying on my back with my phone up here, just rotting in bed, and I dropped it, and it landed perfectly where like the corner like just socked me. So we're rocking it, we're rolling it, and maybe I'll keep it, you know? It's a nice little like accent, just something for a little bit of like intrigue. 30-6, welcome in. Neurospicy TTRPG is best. Neurospicy people perfected tabletop RPGs, and I will stand by that opinion forever. It's a bird. It's a crane. No, it's a plane. Could have been a black eye. Then we'd all have questions. Don't put anything past me. The week's not over. In fact, it's just starting. Just say a goblin punched you. Yeah, like an imp. An imp with really small hands. Maybe... Okay, so when I was living in Lansing, Michigan, I would like go out to bars, you know, occasionally, and like I love talking with random people in bars. I think it's super fun. And so I would get into these conversations with people, and one of my favorite things was like whenever someone would be like, so how old are you? Be like, how old do you think I am? And then just keep saying like older to whatever they say and see what I can get them to believe. So I would like to do something similar with this and just come up with increasingly crazy explanations for it. If that ever happened, my homies would have saved me for real. The real ones know. Grace got in a bar fight. That rocketed the memory of my conversation with Davis that's on YouTube. And he like ended that chat telling me about like a crazy bar fight. No, I'm misremembering. He didn't fight the guy, I think. But he, like, the guy wanted to fight, but Davis didn't fight him. A tiny creature slung a pebble at you to protect its mushroom circle. Now we're talking. Yeah. I was accosted by a fae. What can you do, you know? It was this big. The closest thing I could see Grace doing to a fight is a poetry battle. Man. So I have done like poetry slams, but what I envision you meaning is like a poetry like insult battle. I've had like a few people that have tried to like pull me into like improv poetry and like not like freestyling. Definitively different from like freestyle rapping that I would not even pretend to have any sort of like creative ability with like freestyle rapping. Look at me. But even with like improv poetry, I don't know, improv was like, I've talked about this before, improv is not a skill that I developed at all until I started playing tabletop RPGs, and so it was my literal nightmare whenever anyone would like toss it to me. And just be like, nope. 0. CNC slam session when? Oh my god, bully the other trolls. Come back here for our full streaming schedule and bully the other trolls until they let me host a troll poetry slam, because that would be awesome. Is that like a poetry version of a rap battle? I'm just an old school metalhead. Dude, I'm gonna assume that you're asking like sincerely. I love poetry slams, I'll tell you. It's basically like it's like a poetry competition, and your poetry is like scored by judges, and the judge's job is to like pick the best poem, and usually there's like certain criteria that you're supposed to hit. And yeah, they have poetry slams on like the local level. They have like national slams, they have international slams. Poetry slams fucking rule. They're super fun, and it's the most like supportive, competitive environment that I've for sure ever been in. I miss doing it. I made it to the semifinals of like kind of it's called CUPSI, the Collegiate Unions Poetry Slam Invitational, I think is what it stands for. And it's kind of like the top collegiate like poetry slam in the country. I made it to the semifinals, and it was pretty fun. Like the poetry competition you won and had your incredible book of poetry puzzle. Oh my goodness, Blaze. Oh, fun fact. If you're considering making your living and paying your bills with poetry, I got my royalty check, or my royalty payment in last month. It comes in on February. I didn't sell enough copies to be paid anything. But I also actively, I don't promote my book, so I guess that's to be expected. But man, oh man, it's funny. I mean, that's you know, that's book sales. It's just rough out there, but it's helpful if you actually talk about and promote your book and like still do poetry readings and things like that. It's been a while. But I would love to do like some community stuff. Do you have copies? I don't. I actually ran out of my seller copies. I have to order more. But hey, you know what? Just since you ask, I'll just put the link in chat if any of you are interested in like checking out some emotional poetry from the most emotional troll. Line press. Just don't buy it from Amazon. Buy it from the small press. Support small businesses. Fuck yeah. Is there a CNC cookbook? That'd be dope. Dude, I'm actually gonna write that down because there should be. Ooh, okay. So, like, I'm trying to keep a running list of, like, cool, like, community-based, like, streams that we could do. So, like, poetry slam or, like, art, like, like, open mic talent show would be super cool. I had an idea today that we should do, like, Shark Tank and have people in the TLG Discord submit, like, ideas for adventures. And then we can have, like, the trolls, like, you know, Chuck and Davis and Jeremy and, like, everybody in Dakota, like, decide whether they're, like, out or in on the adventure. And there's no actual money being exchanged, and there's nothing, like, there's no stakes to it. But it's just, like, a, like, I don't know, like a Shark Tank-esque, like, little game show. I think that would be super fun. For real, Chad, don't mind me yapping about random stuff. This has nothing to do with this. Here's the thing. Oh, wait, what are you... engines got screwed up. So for now it's just ATVs. Wait. We're all yapping here. This is what it's all about. It's about nerds getting together and, in the spirit of good sportsmanship, yapping together. Also, are you guys able to, like, hear me pretty good? Because it looks like it's quiet on my side, so let me know if I'm quiet for you guys. Tastes of Aihrde. Fuck. Oh my god, I'm writing that down. That's really good. Tastes of Aihrde. Fucking, we'll do it. Because that sounds awesome. Ultimate recipes. Yes! I got mead recipes. Do share. Hey.
Hi.
Thank you.
Of course.
Do you want to say hi?
I'll say hi.
Get you a man that'll get you coffee at 8 p.m. at night. This will fix my insomnia. This will fix the no sleep.
I didn't even think about that.
I don't need sleep. I need coffee.
I need coffee.
I need coffee.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Is that
Okay.
Tom's? You shaved. You have the stash. The stash is back.
The stash kind of feels like my con look.
It's really iconic.
Hey yo.
Con Nick.
I meant that all
That
along. Oh my god, Con Nick.
Yeah. It's too
Con
cold.
Nick.
Nick goes away. Con Nick comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is Con Nick.
Yeah. I'm not a nerd, so whoops, because stuff prevented me from being one. Here's the thing. Nerd! I'm calling you a nerd. I'm bullying you. This is called bullying. Nerd! So now you're a nerd, because a bully called you a nerd.
Yeah.
Give me your lunch money. Don't actually transfer any funds.
Please mail us your 50 cents. Your milk money.
Your milk money?
And if you got any pogs, I'm coming for you.
Who remembers Pogs? I never played with Pogs. It was past my time. I had, you know what I had?
What did you have?
Hang on.
I don't know anyone that actually knows the game that Pogs are associated with. I think Mighty Beans.
Mighty Beans.
No way.
This is what I had. These
Dude,
were
those
my
go
Pogs.
Crazy.
These were my Pogs.
Do you remember the thumb guys, like the little tech deck, like thumb guys?
I remember Tech Decks, but I don't know anything about Thumb Guys.
Oh, they got thumb guys for tech deck.
That sounds like you're softballing, like trying to sell me drugs. They've got thumb guys for tech deck, if you know what I mean.
Do you want a skateboard?
You're trying to see if I'm like chill.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a read. Not pogs with little cardboard circles of stuff. That's exactly what they are.
Is Nick a thumb guy? Forget whatever you were
Me?
saying. I totally interrupted you.
This guy?
Did these do anything for you?
A thumb guy?
This guy?
Come on. Hey, come on, not on stream.
Put the digits away. For free? In this seller's market?
Yeah, that is what pogs are, but they're
Little cardboard circles with stuff printed on them.
there is like a game associated with it.
They're like
allegedly.
analog NFTs.
That's exactly what they are.
Is what I'm hearing.
Pogs are the OG NFT.
I had like a folder on my smartphone of screenshots of memes on 9gag. Those were my pogs.
Damn.
9gag memes.
Slammers. That's what I'm saying.
Holographic slammers. It's my boy, Milky.
Thought you meant holographic slammer.
Sorry.
Holographic slammer goes hard.
Holographic slammer is what they call me in
That's-
the slammer.
That's my wrestling name.
The holographic
What was
slammer.
who was the wrestling
came
heel
up-
that we came up with?
Oh my god, what was it? I don't remember. We came up with a really good wrestling name for Nick, and it's like a villain, definitively like a heel kind of character. I don't remember what it was.
It was so good.
It was
I feel like holographic slammer is like a hero name.
the holographic slammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, holographic milkshake was mine and my cousin's rap duo when we were 13.
Is that real?
No
I
way.
believe it. This is Milky Death, is Ooze podcast. Milky
Hey, yo.
Death was a HCG regular.
Yeah, I know that name.
Buddy.
What's up, buddy?
Welcome in,
Ooze
buddy.
Podcast. Nice.
Hell yeah. Talk about
You
oozes.
talk about ooze and goose,
Ooze and goose.
goose and ooze.
The two genders, ooze and goose. Man, oh man. I feel like the old man in the crowd. Where's Steven, Davis, or Chuck when I need to balance the ages out? This is our time. We get to have one stream
Yeah.
where we don't know what pogs are.
Take a back seat, old man. Times are changing.
Please stay. We need your wisdom and
Yeah,
guidance.
please.
It's good to see you.
We rapped about going back in time to sleep with various famous historic.
You can't just say that. You got to drop some bars,
At
man.
13, that's wild. Oh, who we talking?
When I was 13, we
Nefertiti, Ben Franklin.
Nefertiti, am I right?
Am I right? Ben Franklin must have been a freak.
More like Ben.
Spanklin.
Ooh. Ooh. Jesus God. That's the song I remember. He'll remember me as the guy who lied to his classmates about being in the live action Ed, and Eddie. I remember you saying that. That's so
That was
funny, dude.
crazy.
That's such a good lie.
Live action Ed and Eddie goes crazy.
That's such a good lie.
Honestly, pipe dream. Like
That exists, or to be involved.
to have been involved,
Mm.
or even just I fanned it, cause like I didn't have anybody around. I grew up in literally the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I was always alone,
Mm-hmm.
and like the fantasy of like living in a subdivision or like in just a cul-de-sac or somewhere where there are other
Yeah.
kids like goof
Oh,
off
yeah.
with and like
There-
have wacky adventures with.
That would be kind of like a
That was my
Yeah.
dream.
man, oh man.
I went crazy over Ed, Ed and Eddie, and my mom told me every time I had it on how stupid it was and that it would rot my brain. Well,
It is
Mom,
a stupid show.
You're right. It did rot my brain, and I don't have friends. Gen Xers,
Gen Xers.
get in line.
Get in line.
Okay, I'm gonna make a coffee.
All right, thank
So
you.
that I can stay up too.
Everybody say bye, Nick. Bye, Nonk.
I'll be around.
You dare insult the son of a shepherd. I liked in Ed, Ed, Ed and Eddie the 3 like girl characters. I thought they were fun.
The Canker
The Canker
Sisters.
Sisters, thank you.
Dude, I'm up on the lore.
You are. You're good at retaining lore.
Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm going crazy.
You have coffee madness.
I have coffee madness.
What about Arnold's bedroom being on the top floor of NYC with a glass dome ceiling? I never really saw a lot of Arnold. But yes. Hey Arnold. Of the episodes that I saw, yeah, I was super jealous of his bedroom.
When Grace and I were first dating,
Mm-hmm.
and like I was driving from Knoxville to Nashville, it's like a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
There is like an 8-hour Hey Arnold retrospective. that was my my like driving video.
Yeah, it's like a 3-hour drive
Yeah.
between Knoxville and Nashville.
But I watched that video like a million times
Oh
it
my
was just
God.
it was just a comfort watch for me.
I don't think I knew that.
It goes hard.
I've never seen it. I've got to watch it now.
Yeah. If you want to look it up, it's by a guy called Jordan Fringe.
All right.
And it's just Hey Arnold retrospective.
Jordan Fringe?
Yeah.
Your wrestling name was something like that.
Is it on your
Certain.
little list?
Certainly not. I have a list of quotes of things that Nick has said. And it's ongoing.
But it's that retrospective is so good. Like he talks with the creator and like goes into each episode.
Oh,
It's
wow.
really good.
So it's not just like a analysis in a vacuum. It's that he interviews the creators and
Yeah.
man, someone should do that for like Aihrde.
I'm looking at him.
Can I read some quotes of things that Nick has said?
Oh come on, they've heard all those quotes.
They have not.
They have for
There's
sure.
new ones. I have not read these quotes on the Monday stream. Call me Mr. Dogman, 'cause I'm chasing down the pussy.
Don't say that out loud on the internet.
I'm just a guy with a hole in my pants and a song in my heart. So you're telling me that a shark is a machine that turns eggs into more sharks. Walking on all fours across the floor in a goblin voice. I'm having time in my enclosure. Hops up onto a window stool. I'm being enriched. Lore time? Yes, we're having some Nick lore. But we will read some Aihrde lore.
It's really crazy when you have the things that you've said thrown back in your face in front of an audience.
On my channel, on the Crane Writes channel, you can go in and just type quote, and there's like a running list of quotes of like things that community members have like immortalized, and you can still recall them just easily from the chat. It's awesome. We should have quotes on here. We should implement that. Maybe we'll do that. Proxima, welcome in, and Lux, Tux, welcome. God, sorry, I mixed up my letters. No sleep, insomnia, no thoughts, head empty. Y'all gonna be Gary Conning it next week? You're damn right. We're so excited. How many of you all are going to Gary Con? And please say all of you. Very, 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 very excited. I literally can't wait. We wish. Oh my God, come next year. I heard the dog go. Trouble sounds excited too. Trouble is at the bottom of the stairs. He's afraid to come up the stairs. Would you
Get him?
get him?
Yeah.
Are you looking?
I'm looking for my red because I definitely put it in this channel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
I'm signed up for a Castles and Crusades game. Let's fucking go, dude. That is the best place to get in an intro game, is at Gary Con. Everyone's super excited about it. All of the game masters are incredible. We have a lot of games scheduled for this year. So there is no shortage of stuff to choose from. Buffalo, come say hi, Miss Mia. Someone just got washed. Extra puppy. Oh, says hi, everybody. Hi. It's okay. Another dog ran up on him today, so we're a little bit on edge. We're mostly back to normal and feeling much better. Feel very happy, very content, very peaceful, very mindful, very demure. He's just a gentle, sensitive boy. He's just a sensitive soul. One of these years I'll make it up to GaryCon. Please do. You definitely should. It's a super fun con. It's a great place to like get in some games. Is he scared of other doggos? He is. He's not a big fan of other dogs. I don't know why. I mean, like growing up, he was around like all of the family dogs. They were all a lot bigger than him, so I wonder if he just like, look at him. He's like, Mom, today was tough. He's just a baby. But I don't know if he was like traumatized by that, like just getting, you know, like trampled over a little bit by like some much bigger dogs, who loved him very much, but were a little enthusiastic and a little too rough for like a 4-pound puppy. There you go. But now, he is a little bit aggressive with other dogs, and he did have like a biting incident with a dog at one time, so now we are super duper careful around other puppies. But it's tough when other dogs kind of like run up on him and I can't like get him in time. It happens. I'm all the way in Raleigh. I need to attend something you guys will be at without bankrupting myself. Yes you do. Just move to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and then you'll be where GaryCon is. What are you doing in Raleigh with the beautiful like mountains and ocean? I think just move to the Midwest. What? Don't you love flat and wind and corn?
Don't you want to trade the rich natural heritage of your homeland for a bleak, flat plain?
A horizon that drives men mad? Please drink a spotted cow for me in Wisconsin. Listen, it'll be hard. It'll be tough, but I will drink. I will find it in me to drink a spotted cow or 6 for you in Wisconsin. I'll do my best. I'll muster up, you know, I'll work really hard at it. I'll just muster up all my courage to drink really good beer. It'll be tough. But we'll get there. My Lily wants to kill my neighbor's dog. He just comes over and wants to play. I have to keep her on a run leash outside. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like when you have like either a reactive dog or an aggressive dog, or just like, you know, a dog who's like not about that kind of thing with other dogs. Because I don't know, I want to play with the other dogs. Like I want to see them running around and having fun. But yeah, you gotta like play by their rules and let them set their own boundaries and follow their lead on some stuff. I can do that, or at some point when I start streaming, we can have a stream where you guys teach me D&D, or the like, dude, time and place, name it, we'll do it. You might like C&C more. It's the game of no rules. Blaze is a sweetie, unless the other dog owns testicles still. Yeah, you know, I'm the same way. Blaze is very, very sweet, and very cute looking, and a very good boy, and the best boy. Please give Blaze lots of kisses from me and from Trouble in Spirit. So C&C is more like 2E. Yeah, with less rules, exactly. I've never played 2nd edition. But I keep hearing that comparison from everybody who knows what the fuck they're talking about, and I follow their lead. And then it just works. It just works when you parrot the information of people who know what they're saying. Yeah, everything that I've heard of is like CNC is very similar to 2E, as far as just being like less rules and more loosey-goosey. It's very streamlined, and you're kind of just meant to like go with the flow and make rulings on the fly and don't worry about the books too much. It's a lot of fun. Come to Ohio and enjoy the sweltering corn sweat summers and blistering ice-covered winters, sometimes both in the same day. I will never forget, in Michigan in May, we had snow. Earlier that week, we had like a 75-degree sunny day, and then that Friday, it was like a snowstorm. And that was not fun. It was not good times. We thought we were done. Ironically, she took to the Chihuahua when he was a puppy. She plays so gentle with him, and he thinks he's tough. It's funny. Oh my goodness. She says, "You are tiny but mighty. I respect you." You have to respect a Chihuahua, you know? I played a lot of 2E through the years, so I should be good. Yeah, oh my god. Yeah. The Castles and Crusades, it's a snap. I'm autistic, so I can do more rules, but I'm always stoned and goofy, so I thrive in no rules. CNC is your game, my man. Like, there is a full multi-hundred page book of optional rules containing crunch and all of the crunch that you could want. But the actual, like, core rules are extremely loose, and so you can play with more or with less, and you can change it, and every game is different, and it's awesome. CNC is a good mix of AD&D first and second edition and the right parts of 3E. Yeah, it's a little bit of like a Frankenstein of like some D&D stuff, but I don't know. It's cool. A bit more intuitive. Yeah, I would agree. I couldn't move up north. Tennessee is as far north as I could move after growing up in Florida. Yeah, you're tethered, man. The Florida is in you. Michigan would be too different. Way too different. I'm gonna drop the link again for Castle Zagig because I'm very excited about it. Just so y'all know, we are gonna be going live tomorrow at, oh my god, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, the same start time as the Backer Kit campaign. So if y'all want to like come hang out with us tomorrow morning, we're going to be celebrating the launch all together. We're going to be answering questions. We'll be there and available if you have questions about like shipping or the different like pledge levels and all that stuff. So come hang out. We'll be there all morning for 2 hours. Technically all morning if you live in Central Time. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So basically the same. Hey, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is on. Waves, did I miss much? Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? Say more. What is that? And no, I just gave the whole spiel again, so you're good. Welcome in. It's good to see you, Starlaw. Thanks for tuning in. You could do Jersey. It's the Florida of the North. That's true. That is true. Jersey is kind of the sister state to Florida. Wouldn't you agree? Come on, Jersey and Florida. Two sides of the same coin.
I just don't know enough about New Jersey. I've driven through.
It's crazy.
Have you been there?
No.
Okay. I've driven through New Jersey. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think that Ohio is the Florida of... Yeah. Dude, yes. Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Ohio is a perpetual liminal space. It is a place of unreality. Florida is aggressively human. Ohio is something greater. Look up Ohio Gothic right now. Just enjoy.
Here's the thing, is that my experience with Ohio, yes, being there is like a liminal space.
Mm-hmm.
But people from Ohio
Mm-hmm.
that I have encountered in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very Florida coded.
Well, I'm the streamer, so I say you're wrong.
Chat, are you seeing this shit?
Jersey girls and Florida mans go hand in hand. That's a match made in heaven and hell.
I think if you took two families side by side from Florida and from Ohio, you'd only be able to tell them apart by whether or not they're wearing flip-flops.
I have streamer privilege, I'm sorry.
There's a church in every single corner for miles. They promise absolution and salvation. No one ever goes in. No one ever comes out.
It's true. Ohio Gothic. Everyone, if you ever want some entertainment, Ohio Gothic is excellent. You can be like blank kills neighbor with soup can, and you'd have to guess between Jersey woman and Florida man. Wait, that's really fun. I'm gonna write that down. What would you call that? Like headline trivia. Okay. I want to come up with more like fun community-based streams because I loved chat plays CNC so much. I'm hungry for more, so I'm taking down like ideas and stuff. My strongest memory of Jersey is the smell. Dude, please illuminate us. Say more. A while back I sent you an Ohio man talking about shower Pop-Tarts on Instagram. But I don't know if you saw. I didn't. I'm gonna find it though after this. I grew up in Philly, so I know Jersey well. I spent a lot of my youth in Wildwood. We have some friends. We have a friend in Philly. And he's from Jersey. That's right. That's right. So we're gonna have to go. We are gonna have to go to Jersey. We have to make a pilgrimage. We have heard about it. Jersey Shore? Hello? Come on. There's a whole TV show about how people from Jersey are crazy.
It's called the Garden State.
That's beautiful. That's pretty.
They've got the Pine Barrens there.
They love gardening.
They've got the Pine Barrens in Jersey.
Pine Barrens?
Yeah.
Like land barons?
No. Like Barrens.
Oh.
Pine Barrens. Napoleon Bonaparte's cousin lived there and he saw the Jersey Devil. Look it up.
Are you sure it wasn't a bit of lead poisoning?
Look it up. It probably was lead poisoning.
Wasn't there a halfling named Snooky or something in the show? I love how Snooky is characterized. I think it's super funny. I hope they're doing great. I hope that the cast of Jersey Shore is living their best life right now. 30-06, that is a fucking fantastic idea. I'm gonna take a picture of your comment. Holy shit. Are you kidding? CNC game where each player on the stream has to play their character like Florida man, Jersey girl, and a guy from Salt Lake City who came there to evangelize but got roped into a tabletop RPG unwittingly. Like state stereotypes. Awesome. That sounds awesome. That sounds so cool. We might have to do that. That might have to be like an Amazing Adventures game. Here's the thing. No. But I love you and you're valid. So I'm looking at what kind of story we want to read tonight. I was gonna look for one that was gonna be like related to Castle Zagig. I couldn't really find one that felt like a good fit. Which, by the way, check back in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central to join us for the launch party for Castle Zagig. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You're invited. So I thought about like just, I don't know, I was thinking about origins and beginnings and like historic game settings and stuff. So why not like the origins of the trolls? However, there is like there's a tale of like the origins of the trolls in the Codex of Aihrde after Winter Dark, and it's awesome. But there's a better one in a novel that Steve wrote, which is, as far as I'm aware, not available in the TLG store. But I have it, and it's called Castle of Spires, and we read this in its entirety this past year and completed it. But there's like a flashback that tells the full story of Ineng, the first troll. And so I thought maybe we would like pick that up and read it tonight, even though it's been like 50 minutes already. Fuck it, we got another hour, who cares? I'll play the Pennsylvania Amish. That's so awesome. Wait, give me more like stereotypes. Nothing like hurtful, obviously, but like CNC game where everyone plays state related stereotypes. Love it. California Valley Girl. I'm thinking like Minnesota. Sarah Palin. My favorite bit to do when I was like 20 was Sarah Palin as a slam poet. I don't know anything about Sarah Palin's like politics. I don't care to know. I don't know if she's still even in politics. But the idea of Sarah Palin as a slam poet is endlessly funny to me. One of Gary's short stories would have been appropriate. Damn, I don't have any of Gary's short stories. I should have asked for them. Is the Zagig lore in C&C similar to D&D lore? That's a good question. I actually don't know. I know that there is like some lore in the books that we're going to be publishing, but I don't think that there's lore in the same way that there's like Aihrde lore. I don't know if there are like short stories and that kind of thing like included about Castle Zagig. There should be. I'm curious if anyone else in here knows the answer to that. If there's like in any of Gary Gygax's like short fiction, if there's stuff set in like Castle Zagig, because if not, like we've got all of like the original notes and are working with like the people who worked with Gary on the Castle Zagig setting. I bet we could write some really cool lore and fiction set in Zagig. I would be a fan. One character is a Starbucks barista from Seattle. I want one of them to be like the owner of like a microbrewery from Portland. I think that would be very cool. I do a spot on crazy Boston uncle. Hey, walk it here. How'd I do? No, that's New York, not Boston. West Virginia moonshiner, Maryland crab fisherman. Oh my god, I'm picturing the Maryland crab fisherman as just everything is in pursuit of crabs. Just all about crabs all the time. Alaskan survivalist. Oh my god, that's actually, I'm writing that down too. I'm a really big fan of this. Send a meme just now so you can find my Ohio Man video. Perfect. Incredible. My favorite character I played was a barbarian who thought he was a wizard and physically emoted what he thought were spells. Like punching a door to cast knock or chokehold to cast sleep. Oh, he's perfect. He's the perfect boy. I love him already. Go down to the, I'm gonna fucking go down to the packy and buy some Newport ciggies and then feed the fucking seagulls some antacid. If you feed a seagull antacid, they die. I'm pretty sure they die if you feed them antacid. Because they can't, like, burp. That's so fucked up. The crab fisherman has to sprinkle Old Bay on everything. That's just being human. It's, you know, so, I don't know. I used to be a person who sprinkled Old Bay on everything, and then I discovered Cavender's Greek seasoning. All-purpose Greek seasoning. That shit goes on everything. Let me tell you what. The name was Derp Gore. Listen. Not to be dramatic. I would die for Derp Gore. I just would. I would. And that's just true. Minnesota character throw in Juicy Lucy's. What? I'm gonna need you to explain post haste what a Juicy Lucy is. And hot beef commercials? Where's Mike Modano, Minnesota North Stars hockey jersey? And eats lutefisk in the church base? You're making up words. An AI wrote this message. What do you mean? These aren't real. Minnesota character throw in Juicy Lucy's and hot beef commercials. Wears Mike Modano, Minnesota North Stars hockey jersey and eats lutefisk in the church basement. That's incomprehensible to me and I love it. Juicy Lucy? The fuck is a Juicy Lucy? I can't Google it. If I Google it, I'm gonna get flagged and they're gonna put me on a list and then they won't let me go through airport security because I already got 2 strikes. Me and Uncle Donnie went to the fucking Topsfield Fair, smashed off natty ice and ate 7 turkey legs. This is not a Boston accent. I'm sorry. I once turned a Whispers Bard into the Flash with haste and boots of speed. He once used dissonant whispers to play ping pong with himself with a dragon as the ball. Fucking bards, man. They can do anything with a little bit of help from their friends. How about someone from the town of Dick in the Upper Peninsula? It's northwest of St. Ignace, about 15 miles. I didn't know that. I've still got to go up to the UP, Moose. Every time you're here, we have this conversation, and every time I haven't been to the UP still. You absolutely need to eat a Juicy Lucy, and a hot beef commercial should never be passed. What is a hot beef commercial? Wait, don't tell me. A hot beef commercial is when, is when you're giving somebody a striptease. That's a hot beef commercial. And a Juicy Lucy is... It's a lemonade. Juicy Lucy is lemonade. Final answer. A bard who plays the cowbell and talks like Christopher Walken. That is probably one of the most fun voices to do. Idaho spud farmer, you barely see him twice a day. Once in the pre-dawn gloom, and once after dark just before midnight. He's hard to identify due to the lack of, well, visual sightings. Some wonder if he even really exists at all. Woo! More cowbell. More cowbell. What is Christopher Walken even in? The only thing that I know Christopher Walken from is a music video. Weapon of choice. God, I have not watched this in probably a decade. I am going to paste it in chat. If you've never seen Christopher Walken in this masterpiece, oh my god, it's so good. This is probably the best music video ever made. Okay, Juicy Lucy is kind of like a cheese-stuffed cheeseburger. A hot beef commercial is an open-faced roast beef sandwich served over a mountain of mashed potatoes and smothered in brown gravy. I'm stunned. An open-faced roast beef sandwich served over mashed potatoes. But then your bread would get soggy from the mashed potatoes and you would have like mashed potatoes on your bread. Is it clear now like what kind of neurospicy person I am? I don't like my foods to touch. You get mashed potatoes on your bread. That sounds icky. And then your bread gets all squishy because you have gravy all over it, the whole thing. Do you eat it with a fork and knife? What do you do? Mix it up? It's like a skillet bowl? But you have a whole open sandwich in there. I'm shook. 7 Psychopaths is peak Walken. Christopher Walken and Aragorn played angels in a movie. Ooh. So, art imitates life. I see. It's an absolute mess to eat. On your bread, on your hands, on your table. But that's the best foods, though. The ones that are just the most, like, inconvenient and difficult to eat. Most family restaurants in northern Michigan have those called a hot beef sandwich, and they're very good. With the mashed potatoes and everything? I've never heard of that. Christopher Walken is in one of the best series called Severance. I didn't know that he was in Severance. Okay, so I have not watched Severance, but I've read like the Wikipedia for each episode because I don't like things that are spooky, but I still want to know what happens and be in on the plot. And I am really interested by the plot of Severance. And honestly, I probably could have just watched it. It's not spooky in the way that I was afraid of it being. I've got certain stuff. I have certain stuff in media, and I know that people have their own feelings about this, but there's certain types of like stuff that I just don't want to like see, you know? I don't want to see things that are like scary and, you know, I don't know. I'm all for like being challenged and stuff, but like there's some stuff that's just really not for me. And I was a little bit worried about like Severance having maybe some of that stuff, but it seems like it doesn't. So I should probably just watch it because it seems super good, and maybe I will. Christopher Walken is the last remaining triple threat: actor, singer, dancer. Wait, no, there's a pop star. There's a pop star right now is Sabrina Carpenter a really good actress? Am I completely making that up? No, that's okay. Ignore me. For a minute, I thought that Sabrina Carpenter and Sydney Sweeney were the same person. That's my bad. I've confused them for a second. Got to go on a conference call for Burning Man. No more lore for me. It sucks that we didn't even get into the lore part. I'm so sorry. But hey, we'll be here for probably another hour. And speaking of, maybe we should... It has been an hour. Maybe we should actually get to like some of the Airdian lore. You know, what they pay me for. So I wanted to read about like the first troll. Because I love this story. It's one of my favorite Airdian tales, is the tale of Ineng the Troll. And Castle of Spires is one of my favorite Airdian fiction stories ever. We are not going to finish it tonight, and that's fine. Maybe we can finish it next time. But basically, because we're going to be reading from like a different, like, fictitious story, I'll give you a little bit of background here. So the story is about Meltaug et Ode, who is an elven prince. This story takes place around the time of the Winter Dark, when all of the elves have decided to leave Aihrde, except for a few. Meltaug et Ode was one of the ones who stayed, as well as his half-brother Daladon Lothian. Daladon cursed all of the elves with a curse of madness, in anger at them for, like, leaving Aihrde at its darkest hour, literally, at the onset of the Winter Dark. So Meltaug has this, like, curse of madness upon him, and the story tracks him as he's searching for this mythical thing called the Castle of Spires, which, according to legend, contains a portal to the realm that the elves fled to. So Meltaug's plan is to go there, activate these portals, and force the elves to come back and fight Unklar and defeat the Winter Dark. I'm waiting for Grace to read an original Grace story, Grace and the Midnight Chicken Nuggies Run. It would be something like that. And hey, maybe one day. I think that'd be cool. But long story short, in his, like, pursuit of the Castle of Spires, Meltaug meets a lot of people and discovers, like, a lot of different secrets about the world. And in one of these, he goes to Ineng, which was once a, like, sentient tree. Because we'll get into this, but in the story it explains that the race of trolls in Aihrde are descended from sentient trees. And while sitting underneath the Ineng tree, or I think drinking from the water at its roots, actually, Meltaug has a vision of this tree's past. It is the petrified body of the very first troll ever. I'm gonna, like, clear my throat here and drink some water, and then we're gonna, like, read and jump in. Hydrate or dihydrate, that's what we say. Ryan, welcome in. Been running a tabletop RPG game in a virtual table and recreated Icewind Dale with the original game map, assets, and story. The players are loving it since they never played those old JRPG video games. That sounds awesome. That sounds super cool, and it sounds like it was a ton of work. Good work. That sounds really fun. I hope your players are loving it. But sit back, chill out. We're going to read a little bit of a tale, a little bit of a salty sea tale about the first troll ever. And it might be, like, a little bit scattered as I look for, like, the relevant bits here, so I apologize if it's, like, a little bit more discombobulated than the other ones. Also, that puppy is trying really hard to play with me right now. But it's not the time, Bubble. Okay. Okay. Meltaug saw a score of great trees, huge and towering. Their roots spread into the earth like veins, and the world was sunny and green, the skies overhead a pale blue, infinite, dotted with distant clouds. The plains beyond the trees were covered in deep grasses and strange plants, and everything was warm. The trees swayed in the breeze, bending first this way and then that. They became aware of the warm, clean air through their leaves. The warm sun energized them, and their leaves spread in to take in more, sating them on the life-giving light. Beneath them, their roots spread out like toes, pushing through the cool earth, thirsty for nutrients, absorbing water from the soil. And they marveled, for they could not see their lives behind them, but knew that the world was alive around them. So, the trees became sentient creatures, and they called themselves sentients, for the All-Father made them aware of the world around them before all other creatures. So this race of trees was called the sentients, And it was actually the first race that the Allfather ever created. They were before the dwarves, before the men, before the gnomes, etc., etc. Ineng stood amidst that grove. An oak of unbelievable size, he towered over his companions and marveled at what he could see. The grove grew upon the slopes of a massive mountain chain that tumbled up into the sky in layer after layer of rocky ridges. On the other side, he could see a vast, sprawling plain of deep green grass. The grass went as far as he could see, and the earth there called to him, promising deeper soil and water unspoiled. Beyond the plains were slivers of something deep and blue, scores of them, which he afterward learned were lakes of life-giving water. And Meltaug, seeing this vision kind of as a third party, knew in his own mind's eye that these were the channel lakes of the distant east, for he had been to them once, though now they were frozen over, and the grass-filled plains were covered in thick snows of the winter's dark. Ineng drifted from his grove, wandering down the slopes, his rooted feet cutting up the earth and finding new passage. But a voice beckoned him back. He stopped and cast his awareness toward the voice, for it was deep and made him long for something he could not name. It was the voice of the Allfather, and it promised him knowledge, so Ineng stood and listened. He stood apart from the grove and absorbed all that the Allfather had to say. And this references a specific moment in the history of Aihrde in which the Allfather himself physically comes down to the world of Aihrde to just chill and look at the world that he's kind of created. And he just goes and hangs out with the trees for a while and shares a bunch of his magic. So this refers to that moment in Airdian history. And Milky, we can do that. We can totally do that. The twin sisters, that is, the sun and the moon, came and went countless times. The seasons rolled past, Ineng's leaves fell and returned time and time again, while the Allfather spoke, and all those in the grove learned what he had to say. They learned the language of creation, which is the language of making things, and they learned of the world, the void, and all things besides. But at last, he finished speaking, and settled into the cool shade of the grove, and enjoyed the company of the sentients for a long while. Ineng watched the Allfather sleep for some time without meaning, but, growing curious, he wandered from the grove and down the slope, so that he eventually found himself upon the plain, far from home. They called to him, the other sentients, noticing his absence at last, but he did not answer them. For in his mind's eye stood only the image of the water of those lakes, and he was thirsty. So he uprooted himself and began a slow, ponderous movement across the world to the channel lakes. There, he sated himself with the cool waters for many years. He stood there alone and grew to think of the land as his own, and he watched over it. He turned the water in its course, and he drew so much from the soil that it withered, and the grasses around him died. The water receded before him so that he had to follow it, and when he did, he killed more of the land, and behind him stretched a black path of death. In time, other sentients came to him, and he swayed and moaned so that they would know he did not desire their company. And thinking no ill will, they wandered on, for the world was wide. But, unbeknownst to him, the sentients were growing in number, As the years passed, new breeds of the tree folk sprang up and spread, and they too bred. Eventually, more sentience came to the lakes, and he could not dissuade them, until at last they came close, and he sought to turn the soil barren beneath them. He sucked the nutrients out and made it like sand, keeping his neighbors from any food. Some of the trees died for his greed, and many of them fled. But some did remain, angered at his claim to the lake country. They entered the waters and drank deep there, and dried the land around him, and, stretching their shadows beyond their own form, they blocked the sun and Eneng's light, but Eneng refused to move, suffering their attack. He grew tired and shabby, and his bark peeled away, and he began to die. At last, overwhelmed with the need for sustenance, he fled the lakes, and moved into the western lands that were barren and hot. He wandered for many years, and his roots became shallow, and his limbs shorter, and his leaves withered and only grew in small bunches. There, on the plains of Akrathos, he lived for long years, steeped in the rage of his own hate. He set about remaking himself, using the language to shape his roots into legs so that he could move faster, and his limbs into arms. He mimicked his shape to the shape of the Allfather, though that one was faceless, and so Eneng in these early days had no eyes or mouth. So, the first of the trolls came to be, and though he was not yet evil, he was becoming so, driven by his greed and hunger, but also by his envy and hate, for in the barren plains of Akrathos he was always hungry and thirsty, and he could find no purchase. He was weak, for he blamed others for his plight, never thinking that it was his greed that set him on this course. So, Eneng gathered himself one day, and strode across the plains and returned to the Channel Lakes. There he saw a great forest of trees spread across the land that was once his land, and he became enraged. With little thought, he picked up a boulder, and hurling it, striking a tree in its bole. The great timber groaned, cracked, and fell to the earth. The other sentients marveled at this, for they had never seen one of them slain in such a way. They turned on Eneng, reaching out with their roots through the ground, sucking the moisture from the earth and bawling out the light. Eneng stood against them for many long years, but he could not overcome them, and he began to wither again, for their roots were deep, fashioned so by their knowledge of the language of creation. So Eneng fled again into the wilderness, and the forest on the Channel Lakes groaned in triumph. But some few of them broke free of the grove, curious and hungry, filled with greed like Eneng, and they followed him into the wilds. At first he feared these sentients and fled, leaving them behind. But eventually, he realized they too were filled with a lust for the world similar to his. They gathered together for a while, but eventually Eneng left them, longing to have his own country. But they learned from him, and they too shaped themselves as Eneng was shaped, and wandered through the world. In these days, when the trolls were still few, the Allfather peopled the world with hosts of animals. Creatures large and small, thoughts of his that as often escaped from his dreamings as from his waking mind, and the world was soon occupied by more than sentients and gods. And the sentients enjoyed these new creatures for the most part, but the trolls did not, and they cursed them and slew them when they could. In time, the Allfather brought to the world the dragons, and later the dwarves, and the world began to change beyond the scope of the trolls, and they slew all manner of creatures to keep their lands their own. In these days, they banded together on occasion to better keep creatures from disturbing them, and they fed off their anger and hate, and greater signs of evil grew in them. Okay, so they go out of this memory. Meltaug's cousin Venerioth disturbs him. He sends Venerioth away. Meltaug sends his forces somewhere else. He says that he'll meet them there. He turned back to the tree and gathered more water from the feet of the Aneng tree and drank once more from its memories. Okay. Their men are mounting their steeds. They're a grim-looking lot. It's the Vale Knights. The Winter Dark was a cruel land. Meltaug's band was also cruel-looking, blah, blah, blah. He had begged them to leave. The men vanished in the woodline. He turned, unbuckling his sword, and he crouched again next to the old gnarled tree. Taking his flask, he filled it again. His steed came over and nosed him, but he didn't move. His mind was even then wandering back down the roads of the past, where he could see the beginning of things and the first trolls as they were then. We are back. Okay. Huge. The creature towered over the small bearded men with their axes and maces. He swept them aside as would a storm, battering them to the left and the right in his rage at their interloping. Aneng had almost wholly abandoned his roots and his form, shaping himself in mimicry of the Allfather. He stood now on two thick, if stubby, legs. His branches were arms, long and powerful. His torso was thick, his hands huge, and his head shaped more like a ram than anything else. He had at last learned to use the language of creation, and made himself eyes and ears and a mouth from which he could bellow. In many respects, he looks as did the Allfather, but his form was hard, and his skin thick like bark and forever shedding in long, thin strips. When first he encountered the dwarves, it was in the high plateaus of the Shadow Mountains, upon the slopes of Mount Iseldrim. Aneng, fleeing those of his kind, had settled upon a small pool of mountain water, and there rested his feet and soaked in the deep, clear waters. He looked in many respects like an old gnarled tree. The dwarves found him thus and settled about him to make their camp. They were young in those days, and the world was new to them. The goblins were not made, or at least had not come out from beneath the earth yet. But there were other dangers in the world, and the dwarves had long since girded themselves in armor and carried weapons of bitter iron. The party of dwarves was exploring, coming from the distant west in search of new homes, new mountains in which they could build and mine and carry on the myriad tasks that dwarves love to do. The winds were cold, and they decided to make a fire from the tree that rested by the pool. How convenient. There's a big-ass fly. I wonder if I can get it with something. Whoa, oh my god. You son of a bitch. It's not gonna work.
She's dating my friend. Back off.
I have a boyfriend! I don't know where it went. Never mind. That's fine. False alarm. We're good. Well, not false alarm. It's here somewhere, but it's fine. It's just a fly. The important thing is that nobody overreacted.
Yeah.
We all kept our
We
cool.
all kept our cool.
Yeah. Very chill.
Nobody went straight to murder.
Anyway. The first bite of the axe was a new sensation for Inang, and by a lucky chance it bit into his otherwise impenetrable bark and scarred his leg deeply. He howled in rage at this new agony inflicted upon him, and he swept the dwarf aside with a long backward sweep of his arm. The dwarf was hurled through the air and crashed into the rocky wall, dead as the iron he wielded. Mayhem followed as axes were drawn, and the dwarves fell upon the great beast. But Ineng was beside himself, his solitude shattered in pain and noise. The dwarves shot him and hacked at him, but their weaponry proved weak and broke against his hide, or if it did stick, it did not stay. Ineng brushed them aside, stomping on some and crushing others with his huge hands. But they were too many, and he fled the mountainside, seeking to be rid of them. A score of them he left battered and dead upon the ground. The dwarves were amazed, and gathered their dead and laid them to stone as is their fashion. But they gave the creature a name, and they called him a troll. Like catching a fly with chopsticks. Get more XP with a rubber band. Yeah, here's the thing. If I use my chopsticks with CNC rules, I have to use my strength mod. My strength mod's trash. I've got my dexterity is prime, so if I use a ranged weapon, then I get to like add my dex bonus, and it's way better. So gotta do that min-maxing. The show will end with you being carried off by a giant fly. All the fly's friends come and beat me up. It would happen. It could happen. Anyway, for his part, Ineng climbed into the high cliffs above, settling at last on an outcrop of rock overlooking the pool. He crouched there and watched as the dwarves busied themselves with the burial of their fallen. He marveled at them, for they looked like the Allfather, but nowhere in his language, or that the Allfather had taught him, were words for these creatures. They were small and fragile, but able to shape wood, stone, and iron. This, in truth, captivated Ineng, for though the Allfather had taught the sentients the language of creation, he had not given them the lust for creation. The dwarves he had treated differently, for he both taught the language to them and filled them with a great lust of making. Ineng watched, and he wondered at these creatures and their strange harnesses and tools. When they moved on, he determined to follow them. He watched as they gathered their gear and set out, crisscrossing the ridges, vanishing into valleys only to come up again in many miles distant. The sentients, and especially the trolls, possessed extraordinary senses, and they could see and hear great distances. When the dwarves stopped, Ineng set off with great, measured strides, moving in a straight line across the country until he came near their encampments, where he could listen, watch, and learn. Eventually, they wandered down the western slopes of the mountains and joined a larger company of dwarves upon the foothills. These were busy building a walled town. Ineng settled into the mountains high above and watched and listened for a great while. I kind of feel like this is how the Grinch starts. There's like a green trolley guy just on a mountainside, and there's like a big walled town full of jolly people down below. Anyway. The dwarves were ever busy, building and fashioning, and the troll learned many things. A great lust rose in him then, too, to know how and what they were doing. How did they create so many varied things, he wondered. But he could not see into their buildings, nor reason what they did all the time. And at last he rose, and in massive leaps and bounds leapt down the mountainside and entered the town. The great troll's approach caused havoc in the dwarven town, and they attacked him even as he approached the gates, but he ignored their bolts and missiles. They shut the gates before him, and he battered them down, and a great section of the wall besides. By then, the dwarves had marshaled in the streets and sought to bar his way with axe and shield. Thoughtless of the destruction, he tossed them aside and crushed them, but they fought, ferocious and unyielding, for these dwarves were kin to Argrind Darkeye, king of Gorthorog, who had stood against the god Orndul, the Red Duke. That's a new one. I haven't heard him called the Red Duke before. The battle raged all day and into the night, and the dwarves fought from house to house, but the great troll was too powerful, and their blades were not made of stout enough iron to wound him deeply. Soon, all was in ruin. The towers and buttressed walls pulled down, houses broken open, the town's well buried in rubble. Fires rose from the ruins, and the dead were everywhere scattered. Some dozens escaped, fleeing the great troll, and returned to the west to seek their kin and spread word of the dread monster they had encountered. One, at least, survived in the ruins, and Deneng found him pinned beneath the rubble. "What purpose, ghastly troll? Why have you killed us all?" Eneng looked at him for a great while. "I would know of your crafts, how you shape things. You should teach me." "Burn and die, dog." "I have spared you, little Allfather." Eneng took hold of the dwarf. "What is that to me? You have slain all my people and left my home in ruins. You can burn for all I care. My name is Upak, and I serve none but my king. Now go from me and let me die." "I cannot burn, little Allfather. But you will teach me." Casting aside the timber that pinned the dwarf, as if it were but a pile of twigs, he lifted the dwarf up. He brought Upak into the high country, moving north along craggy mountains, passing the high peaks of Iseldrim and through what later became Dante's Pass, until at last, giant Mount Gardrim loomed overhead, and he came to the tops of the world. He brought the dwarf to a cave he had dwelt in long ago. It was deep and dark and spread under the mountain like a spider's web. At the center of these many tubular caverns lay a large vaulted chamber with a large lake in its center. The lake was fed by many hot springs that made the water steam and bubble in tumultuous agonies. Here he set the dwarf down and cast spells upon him, so that Upak became disoriented and confused, thinking now that he was at home in his smithy. The great troll, for that is the name he took for himself, shedding forever his relationship with the sentience of old, mesmerized Upak. The dwarf came to believe that the troll was his apprentice. In this way, Eneng fooled the dwarf into teaching him many things that he would not otherwise have known. For many years the two worked together. They harnessed the fires of the earth and began shaping all manner of things. Eventually they built a huge forge, lined the halls with cobbles, and blocked the passages with doors. In time they built gates at the cave's entrance to guard it from dragons and other monsters that were forever wandering in the mountains in those days. But Eneng learned more from Upak than just how to build things. He learned how to forge weapons, armor, and fashion clothes for himself. In time, his smithcraft surpassed that of the dwarf, and Eneng realized there was nothing else he could learn from him. Upon a cold winter's day, he carried the dwarf to the gates of his home and cast him out. He lifted the fog of spells that had held him for so long and turned to shut the doors on him. Upak was dazed, but realization came to him fast. His race was young in those days, and resilient beyond the measure of later days. "How now, great troll?" "My beard has grown gray, and my hands are covered in soot and scars that only an old forge master might possess. What devilry have you delivered? Ineng turned, dressed now in heavy cloaks, adorned with a dragon bone helm, an iron breastplate worked over with many glyphs, with a long sword and a dragon hide scabbard at his side. Be off, little Allfather, I have no use for you. Go back to your people, and know that you have done me a great service. Upak looked at the great troll and marveled, for before the creature had been naked, and now he looked mighty in his armaments and cloaks. Dog, curses on you and all your kin. May time wither you and turn your bark to stone. Be off, little Allfather, before I kill you. Upak fled down the slopes of the mountain and into the west. Ineng had knowledge of him after that. Rumor came to him in after days that the dwarf returned to his people with much lamentation. But Ineng returned to his forges and dungeons, and there set to fashioning all manner of things great and small. One of his greatest creations was a horn, fashioned from the bones of a dragon and banded in gold. He shaped and molded it with spells and the language of creation. Into it he poured some great part of his longing for the lakes of the east, where he had spent his youth. He took this horn to the high slopes of the mountain and set it on a great stand. There he blew a long and mournful note upon it, and the sound of it carried across valleys and mountains and echoed over the sea and across the rolling plains, even to the furthest reaches of the world. Others heard it, sentients of a like mind to Ineng, and the sound of the horn called to them, and they rose up from wherever they were to follow the trail of it. In time, much to Ineng's amazement, they gathered upon the slopes of Gardrim Mountain, called by the horn and its master. There is more to this story, but I think we'll leave it there for now. And maybe we'll read the entirety of the Castle of Spires again, because I love that story. I really want it to be a comic book or a graphic novel. I think it would make a really, really good one. But yeah, so the first trolls were trees. It was a race of like sentient trees called the Sentients, and they were the first race on Aihrde, and I think that's really cool because I haven't heard, I don't know, maybe this is like present in other like mythology or like other fantasy tales, but trolls being like trees is really interesting to me. I think that's super cool and just like a cool design thing. Getting hardcore Lord of the Rings vibes from this, just me. No, I feel it. Oh my god, totally. Like the Ents. Trolls were bred from Ents. Oh damn, is that like in Lord of the shit, sorry. I didn't know that was a thing in Tolkien's writing, that trolls were actually bred from Ents in Lord of the Rings. I had not heard that. That seems super obvious, I guess, now that I'm like saying it out loud. Let's see who we can maybe like toss a raid to. Your girl is very, very sleepy. The sleepies kind of came out and hit me all at once. You know that thing when you like, you don't sleep and then it like catches up with you. Thank you all for like hanging out and listening. This is super fun. Whom do we want to raid into? Oh. Let's do just the human. This looks cool. They're doing a stream for Doctors Without Borders, and that is an awesome cause. But hey, thank you all so much for hanging out. I'm gonna get some sleep. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate you guys. Please do come hang out tomorrow. We're gonna be live at 10 a.m. Central. That's 11 a.m. Eastern. To celebrate like the launch of Castle Zagig. It's our first Castle Zagig crowdfunding campaign. We have 2 planned. We're super, super duper excited. We worked on Castle Zagig stuff all day today, and it was an insane work day. So, yeah, we'll be live to like chat about it and answer questions, and we would just so love to see you there, even just to like hang out and talk about games, but in particular Castle Zagig, just because we're so excited about it. So if you want to come hang out, I know that I'll be there. I'm pretty sure Steve and Chuck will be there. Davis might be there. There might be other trolls that will come hang, but there will for sure be some people to hang around and talk about nerd shit together. So we're gonna do it. Thank you all for hanging out. You could have been anywhere on a Monday evening. I super appreciate that y'all spent your Monday evening with me. I'm always prepared to like stream to 0 people. And it always blows my mind a little bit when folks show up. So thank you for showing up and hanging out and listening to some Aihrde lore and nerding out with me. I had a great time. I will see you tomorrow. I will be back here same time next week. Go give some love to Jess, support their stream, and have a great night. Goodbye.